Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Let me bring this back to a question, because otherwise we could be debating whatever you're debating all day. When you look at that, guys, the first thing that jumped out to me was, what are we going to do without Champions League? Because obviously this whole season now, I think every Spurs fan, forget whether you're Levy in, Levy out, Ange in, Ange out, I think we're all pretty much on the same page that it literally is the Europa League or bust. It's literally going to be our most successful season on paper for 40 odd years, or one of our worst for 40 odd years, right? So I don't feel like there's any middle ground there. By looking at those numbers, my first worry was, what are we going to do if we don't get Champions League with regards to the salary that's already been dropping year on year, with regards to being able to buy players? What are we going to do? Because surely those numbers are going to continue to go down, because we won't have Europa League. We won't. That's my question to you guys. Is that not the bigger concern here, rather than Levy in, Levy out? Isn't it what happens to Tottenham? How far do we fall if we don't have Europe next season?
The most important thing to remember is, and this actually is a lovely little blend away from what we were just getting into, that Lubo doesn't know the difference between his opinion and fact. The fact is, right, that the wage to revenue turnover is based on two deciding factors: a numerator, i.e. your revenue, and the denominator, i.e. how much you spend. So when you look at the ratio between the two, then you can have a situation where your revenue can jump by 20% and your wages can stay the same, and your wage to turnover ratio can drop dramatically by 10, 20, 30%. So these people that hark on this notion of the lowest wage to revenue rate in the Premier League or Europe, that is in no small part fact, not opinion, fact. It's in no small part because our revenue is always as high as it is. And this particular set of figures, despite the fact that you're comparing it to a previous year where we had Champions League football and all of the money that came from it, that we've only reduced our revenue by 4%, despite the fact that we've lost 10% in revenues from the absence of European football, despite the fact that our operating costs have gone up 17% or whatever it is because of the cost of doing business. Again, by factors that are outside of Daniel Levy's control. People like Lubo, love you to pieces, Ian. But ultimately, mate, you're a smart guy. You run your own business. You know these things. You will never bring these things up, either because you don't fully understand them or because it doesn't suit your narrative. But ultimately, the reality is that the wage to turnover ratio is built upon two things, one of which Daniel Levy is entirely responsible for, which is the revenue. And when you look at those numbers today, which is an analysis of today, and you want to take it down parts where, because it doesn't suit your narrative, you want to talk about the transference towards what it looks like on the pitch, which is an argument you can have anytime you want. Hang on, let me finish, mate, and then I'll shut up. But you can say what you want about the transference of intent, of ambition onto the pitch, and you can have that argument as much as you want, and everyone in the comments can as well, on any day of any month of any week in the year or any year. But ultimately today is about looking and analyzing those numbers, and on those numbers, on the remit and the mandate of what Daniel Levy is responsible for, which is for generating revenue to make us competitive. Given the fact that we are comparing our numbers to the previous year when we had all those things that we don't anymore, then that should be celebrated that it's only a 4% revenue drop. Compare that to Everton. Have you taken the time to look at Everton's numbers, who also brought their figures out today? Have you looked at them? If you did, you would see the difference between a good chairman and a shit one. And a terrible, terrible, terrible tale is being told at what the Friedkin Group has just inherited over at Everton. But you won't mention that, either because you're not interested in Everton or because it doesn't suit your narrative. So those of us that are objective, hang on, those of us, last 3 seconds, those of us that are objective, that can just look at the numbers, can see it for what it is, that we are in a brilliant position. And should Tottenham go on and win the Europa League and qualify for the Champions League, you will not see a club that is in a better financial position relative to our position, relative strength index against anyone else, given the circumstances in which we are affording ourselves. Now, you can make the argument about Daniel Levy being the right ambition type of guy, and I can share or disagree with your sentiments on that. But in terms of the numbers, they're incredible given the comparative circumstances in which we found ourselves. Incredible.
Well, when you look at the turnover, when you look at what Sky bring in to every club, what they pay every club, you can finish bottom of the table. You've got over £100 million. So I think that a lot of the build in Tottenham's value, any proper businessman over the last 24 years, with the way that money has exploded into the game, I think you've got to be really poor, like the Everton, like Mashiri, who thought he'd act like a fan and just spend. So what you've got, Sean, you've got Tottenham and Everton, where you've got the two different ends of the spectrum. So, and you could say that Mashiri's behaved like Ridsdale did with Leeds before the explosion of money that came in. So you can say that you've got a fan there who spends, doesn't know about football, apart from Ancelotti and Moyes, probably hasn't had the right people around him. But the recruitment also has been poor. He hasn't kept a close handle on his spending, on his overheads. And then you've got the other end, where you've got the accountant running a football club that basically is just geared up to make anemic profit.
Ramadan Kareem, this is Mahmoud Shalabi speaking from Medical Aid for Palestinians. I'm standing today in the old
club that basically is just geared up to make anemic profit.
Profit that is distributed to the owners how?
Sorry?
You're talking about profitability like it's a bad thing for a football club.
No. Sean, I want Tottenham to be the most profitable club in the country, in the world.
And you want that to be transferred onto the pitch, right?
And I want to see it being transferred onto a pitch.
And are you suggesting it hasn't been?
In a proper, sensible way.
And has it not been?
By a chairman, hear me out, who doesn't know the first thing about football, and brings in an expert the way Branson does with all of his different businesses, and brings an expert in on the football side to run the football.
So who if we're having the argument around taking your hands off the reins and handing over, if that's Lubo, mate, I don't disagree with you on those things. I don't disagree with people who in the comment section add yada yada, same old shit, right? People that see me rolled out on other people's channels who don't watch my own channel and don't know how often I criticize Daniel Levy, because in these circumstances I'm coming out here and always defending him. But the reality is that today is not a day to talk about the transference of value. It's to look at the numbers, right? That's what we're talking about here. And you want to move the argument into a direction where it comes back to something that you could debate with anyone else any given day, and you do, because you hang around echo chambers, and that's fine. That's not, you do what you want to do. But today is about the numbers. The objective. I'm sure you do. Good for you. The objective numbers around whether or not the comparative figures versus a year when we had champions, not European football, not UEFA League, not Europa League, not Conference League, not where there was like meaningless differences in that contribution. But in terms of a world where inflation was doing this, the cost of putting on events was doing this. And by the way, those figures don't even include the additional value of what we're seeing right now, which is another doubling of the events, the non-match day events that are going to be factored into next year's figures. All of those things are wonderful things. And also is a wonderful thing, which is always overlooked by fans that just want to focus on, and I get it, the things that they care about and the things that they understand, which is football success. But at the end of the day, the only chairman in the entire Premier League who diversifies the expectation of revenue generation away from the fans of the football club is Daniel effing Levy. That should be celebrated, not chastised. And I know a lot of people, because I've had these debates with a hell of a lot of people, I've had all these debates for years. They used to be, I don't care about Beyonce. I don't care about Formula One. They're just demonstrations of Daniel Levy being a profiteering prick, right? But ultimately, now that argument has been settled, that it's a necessary, viable, and valuable contribution to the numbers, that they don't say that anymore. Now they say, I'm more than happy for Tottenham to have anything that goes on in the stadium as long as it doesn't disrupt the football team, as long as it's transferred, right? It is transferred, and it is necessary, and no other chairman does it. And Daniel Levy should be applauded for that stuff, but he isn't. You know why? Because you made up your mind. Today is a day to analyze the numbers, and those numbers should be celebrated, not argued, not chastised, not critiqued with a criticism lens, because that's how you feel about the owner overall. I get it. I get it, Lubo. But if you want to have a debate around whether it transfers, you can have that debate anytime, anywhere. Today is about objective truth.
No. As a financial person, you love Daniel Levy. You make it very, very clear.
I don't love him. I don't give a fuck about him.
You respect him. Fine, you respect him. Let's change the word. You respect him. I think, Sean, you forget you're a football fan for Tottenham Hotspur. That seems to go out of the window. The two are connected. He's not there just to make a profit for ENIC. He's there as a custodian of the club to look after the football.
You just said a minute ago that where's my dividend? The only way that you get your dividend is if he takes his, and he will take a lot more, but he doesn't. He doesn't take dividends.
Plus out the club while he's been chairman. He's taken millions and millions more than any other chairman.
As a salary and bonuses. That's how fucking life works, bro.
Bonuses?
That's compensation.
Really, one trophy in 25 years deserves the bonuses that he's had. Come on. Now you're ignoring stuff. Now you're suiting your narrative and your agenda. This is bullshit. One trophy in 25 years, Sean.
Why?
Why?
Sorry, one trophy in 25 years? Mate, hold up.
I'm talking. And before you turn around and say, which you have done, which you have said to me before in the past, before you turn around and say, be careful what you wish for, I think you would have said that to the Newcastle fans when they were trying to get rid of Ashley. And now,
I was wondering how long it was going to be before they were mentioned.
I hope you saw the final against Liverpool and the way they all turned out on Saturday for their club. It's a proper club with proper owners who employ.
When you on a channel, Ian, that was celebrating you were actually on the stream that was articulating the value of us getting out of the cup against Liverpool, and actually relegation being a better thing because your narrative, your agenda is more important.
I'm going to tell you something, Sean, as a football fan,
weren't you on that show? Weren't you on that show, bro? I'm pretty sure you were part of that conversation. That was celebrating the idea.
One at a time, please.
I'm pretty sure. Don't sit here, Lubo. Do not sit here, my man, and talk to me about the notion of
one at a time, guys. I can't hear both of you.
Don't do it, buddy. I'll annihilate you in that argument. I'll annihilate you, my man. Don't do it. Don't
annihilate me, Sean, because I'm a football fan and I'm a Tottenham fan. And you forget you're a Tottenham fan. You're into fight. Oh, Daniel Levy.
You were championing our relegation.
What a chairman.
You were championing our relegation.
What a chairman.
Lubo, do not question my fandom, bro. You were celebrating with all those other bozos on that channel, and I don't deny it because I saw it live. I was embarrassed. You were championing the idea of losing the cup being better for your movement. No. Yes, you were, as were all the others, right? And the argument came up around whether relegation was better for the movement. Don't talk to me about being a fan, bro, because it was embarrassing. It was the worst thing I've ever seen.
I didn't travel and spend a whole day and get home at 4 o'clock in the morning going to Liverpool because I wanted them to lose. Let's get that straight, and then get in my car and drive to Villa Park.
Were you not a part of that show? Were you not a part of that show?
I was part of that show.
Were you not a part of? Were you not agreeing, nodding in agreement? Relegation's better for the movement. Relegation's better for the movement. Short-term pain, long-term gain, all that shit. I heard you say it, buddy. Don't deny it now. Don't deny it now.
I want these owners out. Because I tell you something, while he's there, I'll never see another trophy, probably.
Let me ask you then, guys. Let me interject, right? Let me interject. I want to know, what does all this mean for Spurs if we don't get Champions League? Is there money there for us to go and have a good summer? Or are we going to see Spurs tighten their belts even more like we did last summer, where it was something like 30 odd million pounds in wages saved, lots of young players coming in? That's what I want to know. Moving forward, what does this mean for Tottenham Hotspur if we do not get Champions League football? Because it's as far as I can see, someone to tell me the difference between us getting Champions League or not is going to be somewhere. Someone will tell me if I'm wrong. we're looking at somewhere in the region of 60 to 90 million pounds across the season. I think that's right, depending on how far you go. So what does this mean for us as a club, guys, moving forward if we don't get Champions League revenue? Do those numbers today show that we're in a healthy position to go into the transfer market, pay big wages, buy big players, and start competing? That's my question.
Let's hear Lubo turn this into a subjective argument. Go on, Lube.
What's wrong with you guys? Lubo, what is it?
Tell me, no, hang on. I'm going to throw this back at you, Sean. Are you happy with what you've seen this season?
Am I happy with what I've seen this season? No, of course not.
You're not happy.
Am I happy with what I saw in those figures, which is what we're here to discuss? Yeah.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. Figures that are wonderful.
You should be too, mate. You should be too.
You know what?
Because
we're gonna have a bus top parade all round Tottenham High Road. There's going to be 500,000 out there singing.
You're sitting there as the guy that was championing our relegation. You were celebrating the notion of our
biggest in the Premier League. Look at us. Let's have a full bus.
Don't talk about Premier League ever again, Lubo, because you were happy to see us in the Championship. Because it meant more to your movement. It was embarrassing, buddy. It was embarrassing. Don't ever talk to me about being a Tottenham fan. Don't ever talk to me about that shit, bro. Don't ever talk to me about that shit.
Get rid of these people. Right, let's get rid of them. They're killing the club anyway, Sean.
You wanted us to lose, bro. You wanted us to lose. You part of that City till July thing as well. It's weird, mate.
You are not a Spurs fan. You cannot possibly be a Spurs fan.
I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm not a Spurs fan.
You totally disregard.
You never catch me. You never catch me. Go and find a clip, bro.
You totally disregard the connection between the football.
My guy, you were championing our relegation. You championed our relegation. Lubo, you championed our relegation.
If it
Don't ever talk to me about being a Spurs fan, bro. You were celebrating the idea of our relegation. It was outrageous. It was embarrassing, and it was like after that, like
history, Sean, of running around all over the world, supporting the team through the biggest pile of shit, as well as the very few decent years that we've had in the last 25.
Why did you champion our relegation then?
Then come back and question me.
Why did you champion our relegation? Why did you champion our relegation?
How fucking dare you question me?
Whoa.
How dare you?
The F-bombs.
Oh my God. I'm the last person you question about being a fan.
Did you or did you not celebrate the idea on that channel?
Not celebrate. How desperate must you get when you're seeing your club, the heart and soul of your club, being ripped out by these owners to want the club to go down if it guaranteed them leaving? You think about it. Think about that comment.
I know. I have thought about it, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Anyone listen, Saba, with all due respect, mate, the comment section in your show is the comment section on your show. I'm fully aware that my style doesn't go down with I don't give a I couldn't care.
It's fine. Listen, right? I'm not bringing up
couldn't give a shit. But mate, if anybody in your comment section subscribes to the same thing that I heard from this man and his crew over there on that channel, celebrating the idea of us losing to Liverpool because it meant more positive momentum for a factor that is largely irrelevant.
No.
Oh my word!
No one said about losing to Liverpool. Nobody said about. Somebody said. The question came up. If the only way of getting rid of Enoch was
going to go get the clip,
would you take it? That was the question.
Shall I go get the clip?
The only way of getting rid of them, would you take it? Because you know what, Sean, they're crashing the club at the moment compared to where we were 6-7 years ago. They are crashing the club.
And why were we where we were 6-7 years ago, Lubo?
Why, in spite of Levy, because he wanted that.
There you go. Moving the goalpost again, right? The buck stops at the top until it doesn't.
And guess what? The first sign of trouble with Pochettino after 5.5 really good years. The first sign of trouble. He ran for the hills, Levy. Get out of our club, Poch. He got rid of it.
I'm back. I just dropped my microphone.
Sir,